We are back on Let's Have It Out. Let's take another caller. We have Collins Letswalo from Pretoria on the line. Hi, Collins. What's on your mind tonight?
Good evening. I just wanted to know from Mkhokeli there. It's always good and well when media does things. And media is a very powerful instrument that people can use to destroy others. My question is, the people whose lives have been destroyed by Sunday Times, how is this apology going to help them at all? Because their careers are destroyed. They've got families. Families are destroyed by this. Is it only fair to just get a publication to say, we apologize? And all this for media freedom when lives are destroyed. How fair is that?
Do you want to take that question?
But Collins, I wonder what you would suggest that be done in a case like that. The South African institutional framework is amazing.
Maybe let me deal with that question. If you have KPM, let me go to the KPMG example. They do something that is wrong with auditing. There's action that is taken. People are fired. All the cases that they've worked on are investigated. Where people suffered damage, they are compensated. I think what Collins is asking is it cannot be enough just to say we are sorry. And actually, what you are suggesting is that if something has been said about you that is incorrect, you need to go to the press ombudsman. I'm saying, can't the media correct itself? We see this in the United States, for instance, when the New York Times ran a story that was wrong about Ambassador Nikki Haley. The Washington Post came and attacked the New York Times so that the New York Times could correct its story. So I'm saying there's a lot of things that can happen to prevent, and once it has happened, what do we do? What Collins is saying, what I believe also, is that an apology is not enough. Do you think it is?
I probably would agree with you there. But what I'd wish had happened with the Sunday Times is that the Sunday Times is taken to the press ombuds, the Sunday Times is sued, so that you and I, ordinary folk, do not make the strong judgments and decisions.
If you sue Sam, let me say this. If you sue somebody for defamation, the matter has to go to High Court. If you go to a lawyer, they'll tell you, put 250,000 rands on the table before we can start anything. You cannot go wrong people, and then you say they must take action to correct what you have done. I think that this is wrong. This is a wrong approach on the part of the media, that you can go slander people at will, and then they must have the responsibility to go and correct your work. That is wrong. Why can't the industry correct itself? That's the point that we're trying to get to here.
I'm glad you finished so that I could finish my input.
Yeah.
The institution and the mechanism is there. South Africans must use it. It's there to help South Africans, to protect South Africans from the mistakes in the media. There's been a lot of examples. I, for example, was involved in a story about Ronnie Casserels and where the Sunday Times was deemed to have gotten it wrong. We were forced to make a strong apology in street lamp posters, and that was the first time in South Africa that had happened. You mentioned a number of good examples where the media industry itself stands up and say, what the one publication is doing is wrong. You've named a few people. Jacques Paul is mentioning this. A number of people have said it, that they didn't agree. You're mentioning Songezo Zibi, who was editor of Business Day, went on a different path in covering SARS. And he was not the only one. The Sunday Times has owned up for what it did. There are institutions to take up a number of things with regards to the consequences of that. The industry itself says, we do not agree with this. We do not condone it. This is not how we work. I'm a proud South African journalist. You have proud former South African journalists. You disagree with these things. So do I. But the Sunday Times would probably be in a better position to answer for itself what it is that it did wrong and how far it should have gone in correcting that.
Okay, yeah. Many critics suggest that there is subliminal racism in the media. If a black person is accused of rape, they are named before they appear in court. If it's a white person, then we remember that there is a law that forbids the naming of the person before they plead. What do you say to this? And I've seen in social media other people showing, that, the person who's accused of rape at Dross, was protected somewhat by the media. What's your take on that?
Look, there's a raging debate at SANEF itself about it. We can't tell the institutions in the media are not members of SANEF, individuals are. we can't prescribe to them on how to handle and what judgment calls they should make. There are editors, highly skilled editors, who know what to do in cases like that. A number of my colleagues are really shocked that it took as long as it has to name the suspect in the Dross case. They were pushing and they really were critical of our other colleagues in the industry that they have not named. But there are rules about it, so it's all about the interpretation of rules like that. But South Africa, in the context of SANEF and what is it that we do, we are bothered by such cases. You mentioned the issue of racism in South Africa, and subliminal racism. The media industry operates within the context of this difficult and broken nation we are. And some of these things that happen in society, they do happen in the media industry itself. And we should be open enough, and we need intellectual honesty when we can take on all these things so that we can hold ourselves accountable, so that we can serve the people we work for.
There's nothing wrong with what you're saying. I'll tell you what my difficulty with SANEF is. If there is any threat that is to media freedom, or that is to journalists, or that is to media houses, SANEF stands up. And that's correct. And SANEF must do that. But when wrong things happen, SANEF defers to its members, defers to other structures. We don't hear you coming out strongly to condemn things that are wrong. If you condemn what's wrong done by the government, you must condemn what's wrong done by a newspaper. That's why I think you and I don't find each other.
Look, we're discussing a very specific case.
Yeah.
In the context of the Criminal Procedure Act, that makes it difficult. It doesn't block us altogether.
Yeah.
You can make the argument for public interest, but generally it forbids the naming of people who have not been charged. What you want is for the media industry to be independent of me, of you, for editors to be making these judgment calls, and when they do get it wrong, let's deal with that. But people do get things wrong. But
yes,
what we do not want is to be moving away from the beautiful mechanism and the legal framework we have in South Africa that holds people accountable. If we're about to deepen democracy, we're going to have to respect the rules and the laws of this country, including the processes with regards to the criminal procedure itself. But if there are weaknesses there, that's a conversation we need to have. And it's already started at SANEF. People are asking questions about this. Why is this happening? Why is this not happening? And we'd rather go through it thoroughly, not just throw more fuel to the fire. Because it's an important issue, and you must have substantive input in the conversations.
Thank you very much, Sam. It was a pleasure having you here. I enjoyed our debate. Well, that's all that we have for this evening, or the edition of Let's Have It Out. Remember to keep the conversation going on social media using the hashtag LHIO. Tomorrow night, Toby Shapshak will be in this chair. You don't want to miss that conversation. I'm Makhosini Nkosi. Thank you for joining us. Good night.